All right. Welcome back, everyone. Craig here. It's about 2:40 p.m. Central on Friday, June 14th. This is a test drive on our live stream. We were supposed to do an interview with one of our followers, one of our loyal supporters, and he had something come up. And I thought, what the heck? Let's test out the live stream. I've never used the live stream before, but I would like to. And so, if you are seeing this, I think the only place that we're live streaming to right now is YouTube. So, if you happen to see this and want to post a comment or something like that, please go ahead and do that in the comment section of YouTube. And I think I'm going to try and comment here too. I tried to hook up the live stream to our Twitter account too, and for whatever reason, the way I was doing it, it seemed like it only wanted to do one or the other. So that's just something I'll have to figure out. But we ran a Twitter poll the other day on sort of if we did a live stream, what would be the best way for people to do that? And it was sort of universally agreed that YouTube is the best place to do that. We'll probably also include Twitter at some point in time, although I think most of the people that follow us on Twitter probably also follow us on YouTube. We do have a Facebook page, although I don't really post to that regularly. If people would prefer to live stream and chat within Facebook, we can do that as well. Just let us know. As I understand it, Facebook has restricted or either made it difficult or impossible to live stream from StreamYard, which is where we're doing this, or I'm doing this, into a private Facebook group. So that's what I have heard. I've never live streamed into Facebook either way. So if we want to live stream to Facebook, I think that has to go on a page. So again, if people want to live stream from there, the idea, the point of the live stream would be to allow people when we are recording to engage, and that's for the most part going to be within the comments section, or if you're on Twitter, I believe you can tweet to it. That I don't know. I've never participated in one of those. And then if you would like to get on the screen with us, I can send you a link, and that link is always available in our Discord group. So the Discord is kind of nice. That's sort of a discussion group. If you're not familiar with what Discord is um, I consider kind of a combination of Facebook and Reddit. I know a lot of people use it for online gaming and groups because they can use it to chat and talk to each other while gaming. But I really like it because you can create an anonymous account. You can go in there, and we have a whole bunch of threads, and there's voice chats in there, and there's a lot of engagement going on. It's more or less the stuff you'd see on Reddit, but I would say better because you can sort of control the content a little bit, and we have really good discussions and stuff that people might not ordinarily share in a public forum, even such as Reddit, share in the Discord. So that's sort of the quote unquote inner circle, if you will. That's more of the exclusive content is to get into our Discord. So if you're not in our Discord and you'd be interested in it, comment below, or better yet, just send us an email. And I'll put the email in the chat, but it's Uncharted Catholic Man at gmail.com. And that one I'm okay if it gets spammed. So Uncharted Catholic Man at gmail.com, and then just put Discord or something in the subject line. That will cue us, and then we can invite you in. And let me tell you a little bit about the Discord, kind of what it does and who might be a good fit for that and who might not. We try, if at all possible, to make the Discord what do I say? free speech zone. I don't really regulate it, and we have moderators in there, so it's not just me. It's mostly our moderators. They're kind of checking it, and for the most part, we will let you say what you want as long as it's not like racist or anti-Semitic or something really offensive like that. If you do that crap, um, we may not kick you out, but we'll remove the content. And we haven't had any problems. I don't even know if we've had to remove any content so far, but sometimes we'll scold people a little bit privately. Um, but we really want people to be able to come in. The people that I think would really benefit from the Discord are people that um, love their faith or want to love their faith. And I would say you don't have to be Catholic, but you're probably not going to get much out of the Discord if you're not Catholic, or at least don't care about Catholic ideas about things. So if you're a Catholic person, and especially whether you struggle with some of this stuff or can appreciate people's struggles, it's a really good environment for people to have discussions. If you are a person that sort of views yourself as you kind of got it all put together and you don't really feel the need to question anything, and you like, just kind of promulgating the truth over and over again, uh, the Discord may not be a great place for you. You're welcome to come in, but you may not be all that happy. Um, and we have people from all walks of life. So we have some, I would say, some traditionalists, maybe even has some sedevacantists in there. I hope I said that right. Um, I would say people that are more on the liberal side, or I think we have people that are not even Catholic anymore in there. But we sort of have a staged approach to it. So you come in and you can sort of see some basic stuff, and then once we've kind of engaged with you a little bit and you're not totally crazy, we will advance you up the ranks. I haven't had anyone yet that came in that we kicked out, or anything like that. But if you like our content and you're not, and if you want to just come in and scream at us, fine. I mean, go ahead and scream at me. But I don't know that helps you or helps us that much. But if you're willing to dialogue, and if you think we're wrong, and you want to come in and explain where we're wrong or things that we're missing, you are welcome into the Discord, as long as you are okay with us, you know, pushing back on some things, asking some questions. It's a place of dialogue, and we welcome people. We welcome new voices. We'd like to have more women in the group, especially Catholic women that are, doing NFP and all that. We'd like more of you in there. Okay, we got pick and choose in there. Welcome, good to see you, buddy. You have a ARG, so I don't know if that's your New England way of saying hello, or you're frustrated with the process. But you're the first comment, so there'll be a prize for you at the end of the show. So looks like it must be working. Came in through YouTube, so good to see you, buddy. But the Discord is really intended to be a place that we can discuss stuff that most people are not really comfortable discussing. Unlike us, we'll just talk about it out on the air. But there's things that I don't talk about on the show. That, and we'll put you here. We're going to even put. There we go. Got him up there. So we try to talk about things a little more freely in the Discord that don't end up on here. And there's probably going to be some more what I would say exclusive content. I'm gonna respond back. We'll probably have some more exclusive content coming out, a little more unfiltered content that some people, not everyone, wants to hear or see, and that will probably come through either our email list. So if you're not on our email list, I don't do a very good job of promoting our newsletter. We have a phenomenal newsletter, and it's phenomenal because I don't really have anything to do with it. One of our listeners, who is very loyal, just a very respectful dude, does that for us. I started out doing it, but he does it, and that was me accepting the invite to scream at you. Okay, all right, scream away, buddy. Um, so we have a great newsletter, and one of our listeners does it, and puts a lot of thought into it, and it's really good. So if you're not on our newsletter, we send out an email once a week, and that comes out on Friday mornings, I think, typically. And it's really a summary of past episodes, but we want to make it more of what's coming ahead. And especially if we're going to have live chats and things like that. We may also point to resources of other places. So there's some other really good channels out there, non-Catholic channels. One channel I love to promote is, I think it's the Happy Wife School. I think that's it. If I think about, I'll link to that below in the description. Happy Wife School. That lady is kicking butt. Sort of a red-pilled woman, but she does just exceptional, and her channel's exploded. I think she just crossed 100,000 subscribers recently. Stuff like that. If I see one of us sees something like that, or an opportunity, on some of these other channels, some of our friends that have things, we would like to share that with you in the newsletter. And so if you could, if you haven't already done so, go to the description that is under all of our videos. It should be under there, and there should be a link to go on to MailChimp and sign up for our newsletter. We won't spam you. It's once a week. If we have something special coming up and we want to let our people know, we will do that. We don't really have any plans or intentions to monetize this channel, so we won't be bombarding you with stuff or anything like that. It's really to just kind of help grow the channel and share information that we either forget to or don't have a chance to put on videos. So if you're not already on our newsletter list, please go ahead and do that. You'll enjoy the newsletter. It's always fun and witty. And if you have trouble with that, just email us again, unchartedcatholicman@gmail.com, and just put in their newsletter or something like that, and we'll just add you to the list. So I wanted to make a pitch for the Discord and the newsletter. Those are really, really cool things, and things that our listeners are very much actively involved with. So what else? Jonah and I, if you haven't seen it, I'm trying to think what the last video we did talked about the five, what I think are the, I don't know, 5 parts of sexual intimacy, the 5 ends, if you will. I hope that doesn't make me a heretic by adding 3 more on that the church recognizes, or 4 more if John Farrell's right. But really, the 5 parts of sexual intimacy in marriage that I think are pretty clear. I don't think anyone really dispute that they're there. Whether they're essential or not, I guess, is up for debate. But check out that video, and we'll be playing more of that. And I think I can, if I get a chance, I'll go ahead and actually put that slide up in here, because I think that is a really good conversation piece. So check out that episode, and we have an episode coming up. This is what we were supposed to record today. That unfortunately we had our guest have something come up, but we wanted to talk about the concept of conscience and the primacy of conscience, and what that means for us in Catholics, and how we apply that, and how we reconcile that with the notion of church teaching and infallibility. Um, can I put that up on the board, picking? um, you know, how do we apply freedom of conscience to our belief that the church teaches infallibly? All right, so let me put that up there. Does using a wine glass as a musical instrument violate its telos? Telos, I guess maybe that's the way to do it. Well, I guess that depends on who you ask, and I think maybe the more important question is if you use it, is it a sin? So maybe it's an unnatural use. It's not using it the way it's designed, but what's the penalty? What's the what's the price of that violation if that's a violation? I think there are really two. Um, Pickens says, let's see, he says maybe if you dump the water out without drinking it. Yeah, I mean, there are really two big parts to this issue. Number one is how do we identify? Well, let's start. Maybe there's three parts. Number one is teleology or the idea of ends even is it a solid system? Is it coherent? I know it's sort of at the heart of Thomistic um, philosophy and natural law and all that, but I think that's a fundamental question: is teleology itself still a legitimate way of looking at the world and reality and morality? Assuming that it is, the question is, well, um, how do we know what something's ends are? And there's actually a discussion going on right now over on Twitter. So if you're checking this out, go over to the Uncharted Catholic Man Twitter account, and really nice discussion going on with another content creator out there about that. Like a chair. So a chair is designed for sitting on. That's the end of the chair. If you ascribe to the theory of teleology, is it violating the chair's design if I use it as a step stool to reach and grab something off the top shelf? Um, that depends on who you ask. Maybe it's a lesser use of it. Is it an unnatural use? Is it an evil use of it? I don't think most of us would say that using the chair to get up on the top shelf is sinful. Now, if I take the chair and I whack someone with it in a bar fight, that's probably a bad use of that, and that probably is sinful. But that isn't necessarily because I'm violating the use of the chair or the end of the chair. That's because I'm assaulting someone. I'm battering their person. So it seems like with objects and even certain human actions, we sort of see bad, good, better, best uses of things. But yet, when it comes to the sexual faculties, it seems like there's a double standard. At least it appears to me there may be a double standard being employed there. That the sexual faculties can have only one use, and I guess if you factor in the unity and procreation as being multiple ends of the sexual faculties, okay, but that's not it's one act, and it's an act that's said this has to be done this way. So the sexual faculties have to be used a certain way, and that failure to use those that way is not simply imperfect. It's not, let's say, a lesser use of it, like me using the chair to get up on the top shelf. It's a disordered evil act, and then and it's considered grave matter, such that someone's soul could be in jeopardy if they do that. Like, so that's sort of the third part, is if we assume teleology is a thing and we can recognize what the ends are, and if the third thing is if someone violates that, how do we know that that is such a grave matter, as opposed to, well, yeah, let's strive to do better, like, right? And I think that is an important thing that I think we should talk about. I'd like to talk about more in this channel. Okay, so we've got a fight brewing in the chat. So let me put up. I'm going to put up pick and choose comments here. Who is quite a rebel here? He's used a cardboard box as a bass drum without confessing it. And then you went to communion. I would get to confession soon, buddy. There, God have mercy on your soul. But Murphy's Muskets says wine glasses don't have souls. It's a non sequitur to conflate that to the teleology of man. Well, why is that? why does the concept of humans having souls aff- affect how we evaluate teleology, and how does the existence of a soul um, change how we observe, how we evaluate and observe the natural ends of human and functions of certain parts of their body? It's certainly a distinction. Yes, I think that's an absolute valid distinction between humans and wine glasses, but it's not clear to me, at least, that that distinction matters for purposes of discussing ends and violations of those ends, and more importantly, the consequence of violations of those ends. So what does Pick and Choose say? He says, if you fill the wine glass halfway with water or produce a musical tone, it's okay to make music with it as long as you drink the water eventually. Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I'm not here to say that the teleology thing is wrong, but I think it's worth evaluating. And for those that don't know what teleology is, that's really a kind of a fancy word. Uh, and I don't know when it first started, but I always associate teleology with uh, Thomas Aquinas and sort of that natural law. But he really wasn't the inventor of it. It really goes back as far as Plato and Aristotle, or excuse me, especially Aristotle. That was kind of his philosophy, was ends, and then guys like Aquinas, and maybe to a lesser degree Augustine, but Thomas Aquinas, who was what, in the 1200s, 1300s, 1200s, 13th century, I think it was Thomas Aquinas. You know, he really took Aristotle, who was obviously not a Catholic, not even a Christian, existed before Christ, was coming up with these concepts of ends completely independent of any religious, or at least any Christian context. Aquinas, of course, tries to take that and harmonize that, or apply that to a Christian worldview, and I think that's what you see a lot. So I think what you see a lot in sort of the sexual ethics thing, I think is probably a good example of this. It seems as though Aquinas did not take teleology and look at it and observe the human body, the sexual anatomy, and say, oh, I guess by looking at it, these are the proper ends of the sexual faculty. Because he was bringing in religion and had that worldview, and as a Christian, as a Catholic, he, had scripture and certain things that were already, like, things he already believed, he's required to believe. It seems to me that he was using teleology to try and better understand what he already believed as a Catholic. For example, sexual morality, things like that. I don't I don't think we should assume, and I don't think he would ask us to assume, that we would come to the same conclusions about natural law and teleology as it relates to the sexual functions without that scriptural and religious sort of background and context. And I think it's just important, because that may help explain why you get into some of these sort of dead ends, or inconsistencies, or contradictions, however you want to call it, when you start talking about, well, what about this use of the sexual function, or that use of the sexual function? Kind of apply this in real terms. So this past week, and I'll probably be releasing an episode on this. So this past week, I got into a skirmish on private messenger on Twitter with someone who reached out to me and was concerned about some of the stuff that I was saying on one of my Twitter accounts. And we started talking about these things, and then he put me in touch with a priest who was not a traditionalist. I don't think he was a Latin Mass priest, but very traditional, obviously. And we started talking, and we were talking about these exact things, and he was saying the same thing. Well, the end of the sexual faculty is intercourse. to completion, open to life, and all that. And so I asked him, for example, well, what about other uses of the sexual faculty, whether it's using, I think I mentioned oral, but he specifically mentioned anal. And I said, well, what is that permissible? And what he told me, and I should put up let me do this. This should apply to all of this. Do not take theological advice from me or us or anything like that. This is I'm just an average dude having a conversation here. But I asked him about that, and I've heard mixed answers about this particular question. In fact, I took this topic onto Twitter and had someone tell me the priest was wrong, which I don't know. But the priest said, well, it's not a natural use of the body, whether it's the mouth or the anus or whatever. But as long as it's not the way that the act ends, but the act ultimately does continue the proper way and ends the proper way, it's permissible. And yet, I know there's plenty of people out there, especially conservatives, traditionalists, whatever, who say that you shouldn't do that at all. It doesn't matter whether you ultimately get on to the conjugal act or not. That's an improper use of that body part or those body parts. Although they recognize that oral might be okay, but not the backdoor stuff. I don't know. You start to make a lot of exceptions and distinctions there that I don't know how you keep all that together. It seems to reveal that teleology, while I think is a useful tool and is certainly an integral tool, integral tool of Catholic morality, I think we should recognize it as something that is in fact limited, and it is in fact influenced by scripture and tradition, and, like it or not, the actual experiences and dispositions and history of those who went into it. St. Augustine, his backstory, all that absolutely influenced his evaluation of these things. Yes, we are not a CCD program. Do not come here for catechism. Do not come here for education. Well, I hope we can educate you. Come here to listen to real people talk about real things in in an honest way. That's kind of what we try to accomplish here. And for the most part, we've been able to do that without a lot of grief. I just caught flack this week. I had people warning me and threatening me that I was basically, I'm the next Martin Luther or whatever, which I don't know that escalated quickly. So okay, I'm gonna put so Murphy's. The telos of the sex acts was clear to Aquinas because in his time, if you had intercourse, you got pregnant. If you're having sex in some other way, it's disordered. Well, okay. We have to recognize, and I hope you'll recognize, that Aquinas was dealing with incomplete and actually inaccurate information about human biology and human procreation. So let me take you on a little bit of a biological history lesson here. So we did not understand that human biology was such that procreation was the combination of sperm and egg, I think, until maybe the 1700s, 1800s. It's been within the last few centuries. Prior to that, it was believed and understood that it's really planting a seed. That's why you will often see, I think semen means seed in Latin or something like that. It was believed that procreation was the man depositing the seed, the tiny, fully ready to go human, into the vessel where it would grow, and that nothing more was required of that. That was based on what people believed at that time. They didn't understand that when sex occurs, there are, cells, 23 chromosomes each, whatever, combining They did not have a concept of that, nor should we expect them to have figured it out, um, because they just didn't have the tools and technology to do that. So I, if you're if you don't live under a rock, you've heard the term abortifacient. So abortifacient is the understanding that once conception has occurred, even if it happened, even before implantation, so there's a brief time when the sperm and the egg combine, fertilization, conception occurs, a new life has been created, but before it actually gets implanted, there's a brief journey in a period of time. Um, there are, as I understand it, certain contraceptive devices or chemicals that may not prevent the conception or the fertilization, but can prevent the implantation. And that's referred to as abortifacient because it actually is terminating an existing life, because at at the moment of fertilization there is a new human person, and as we believe as Catholics, there's a soul there. That more or less is what Aquinas and Augustine and I would say most philosophers and theologians believe that up until really very recent. So for them, spilling the seed in a poor onan was really tossing humans out. You know, it'd be the same thing as petri dishes, dumping them over. And in fact, that's in the news right now. Like, so there's some big fight going on in politics now because I think the Republicans in the Senate signed something supporting IVF, and a lot of people are upset about that because they see the um, well, Catholics, we have all kinds of problems with IVF from start to finish, but even those that aren't morally opposed to the process of making conception happen dislike and have moral objection to the fact that most of those embryos or a lot of those embryos get discarded. Um, and that's essentially what the view was of seed. So when the man spilled his seed, he was essentially dumping out the petri dish in the IVF factory, or lab. Shouldn't call it a factory. Well, maybe we'll call it a factory. And you can see how that is a different moral question than if, let's say, a specimen cup of eggs and a specimen cup of sperm that haven't been united get dumped over. There's nothing morally wrong with the two getting dumped over, but once you put them together, you know how new human life. And so that is really something that I don't know that anyone has really tried to unpack as it relates to Catholic teaching and natural law, because that is I'm 99% certain, and if anyone sees this video and wants to come on and correct me, but that was the understanding, that was the biological understanding that Aquinas and others had at that time. That was part of their worldview in condemning quote unquote pollution, whether it was by yourself or with your spouse, coitus interruptus, or whatever the case may be. Now, maybe had they had the information we have now, they'd have reached the same conclusion. I don't know. But we know they didn't have that information. Maybe if we got Thomas Aquinas on this live stream and brought this information, maybe he'd be like, well, let's reevaluate. Let's start from the beginning. I think it's at least possible that he would have come to a different conclusion. The challenge, of course, is because we are so heavily reliant upon tradition, the fact that something has been believed and held for a long time, it is, it takes on a quality of um, binding authority, right? And this is here, I'll put on my little heretic hat here for a second. I think realistically, it is very, very difficult and uncomfortable for the church to reverse errors if they happen to exist. I'm not saying this is an error, but if it were, it would be very, very difficult. and embarrassing, if you will, for us to come and say, well, you know what? We probably had this wrong, or we didn't have this entirely correct because the understanding that we had at the time that went into that was incorrect. I don't know how you deal with that, but the approach that I have seen is just to, well, deal with it. It's too late to change it now. Maybe it is. I don't know. But this show is really, I would say, the only place out there that I have seen that is actually even bothering to talk about this stuff. And certainly we would love to have on theologians, philosophers, or whatever, anyone that's willing to come on and talk about these things and maybe educate us. So let me see. So Murphy says, yes, Thomas was a pre-critical science. He couldn't see an egg, but he knew a woman's essence was in her period blood. So it's a matter of resolution. Our higher resolution doesn't change the moral ice. I'm not sure what that is. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's obvious, Murphy's. I'd have to think about that a little bit. I mean, I'd have to really think about that. But I mean, I don't think we can just dismiss the fact that a very, very key component to their worldview was wrong. It was simply wrong. And not just wrong in a minimal way, wrong in a very critical and fundamental way, kind of going back to the IVF lab. It's not it's not just a minor issue if the petri dish gets knocked over onto the floor before or after fertilization. It makes all the difference to the point where the one scenario is a moral crime. It's murder, and the other one I would say is maybe property destruction. It's not even morally wrong at all to spill the specimen. So that that very minor distinction makes all the difference in evaluating the moral quality of those circumstances. So I don't think we can just pass over and well, it's no biggie, no harm, no foul. No, I think this is such a critical part of it that we at least need to look at that and try to determine, would it have made a difference? Would the conclusions that Aquinas reached be different now if he was sitting here today with this advanced information? I personally think it would be, but who am I to say? I'm not Aquinas. I may look like Aquinas, but I'm not Aquinas. All right. Whew. Well, I've rambled on. Looks like the live stream is working. We will probably start doing this more often. We'll try and get the Twitter hooked up. And if you are not already in our Discord or you're not on our email list, I would again encourage you to do that. Easiest way, send us an email. And if you want to get on both, send one email to unchartedcatholicman@gmail.com. Let us know you'd like an invitation into the Discord. Usually, if I don't know you, like these guys that are in the comments, I had gotten to know them through the comments. If you're brand new and I don't know who you are or anything like that, I may ask some basic information. I'm not going to ask for your name or anything like that, but just, are you a guy or woman, married, single, cleric, Catholic, just some basic information. But I would encourage people actually to come into the Discord anonymously. If you use a personal email that identifies who you are, I can promise you that I won't disclose who you are. If you don't want to create a sort of a fake or burner email account just to get the Discord invite. If we think of it, maybe we'll go ahead and put a direct link to the Discord in the description. I've been reluctant to do that because I don't want to get spam necessarily. But send me an email. I get messages all the time from people that are very private, very confidential, and I don't talk about that with anyone. It's as close as you can get to the seal of confession without me being a priest. So feel free to share that. I'd love to see more people in the Discord. on our email list. If you have topic suggestions for the show, guest suggestions, due to the nature of our show and what we talk about, it's not easy to get people that want to come on the show, and I get that. We generally have an open invitation to just about anyone, and so most people just this isn't something they want to do, and I respect that. But we really do have kind of an open invitation to people, so feel free to reach out to someone. We will listen. We will talk. We will treat everyone with absolute respect and try to find some productive use for the time. So feel free to, you know, give us those suggestions on topics, questions. Throw them in the comments. Send us an email, or you can go to Facebook, or you can go to Twitter, and you can send us a private message if you want. It's just me and my virtual assistant that monitors that. No one else has access to that. So if that is a concern to you, anyway, well, I'm going to call this a success. So unless oh, we got another guy showing up. Thanks, thanks, buddy, for showing up and boosting those numbers. We'll drive that algorithm wild. But hopefully the next time, seems like it's working. Thanks, guys, for showing up and participating in this, and we'll do it again sometime. Otherwise, we got an episode coming out on Sunday. I think the one I was going to do today on conscience, since that didn't happen, we have another episode that we recorded this week, really kind of detailing this wild exchange I had with this traditionalist and this priest this week. And I think hopefully you'll find that entertaining. Unless you're a traditionalist, then you may not like it very much, but tough. So otherwise, thanks everyone for listening. I appreciate that. And until next time, everyone, have a good one.